Hey, Trojan family, what's up? Welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Massive recruiting news dropping just today as the USC Trojans receive an expert prediction from Steve Wiltfong over at Rivals for a coveted, highly touted, highly talented recruit out of the great state of California. So we'll get into that, who it is, how it's unfolded, and what effect it has on potential other recruits that the Trojans have been pursuing. So let's just jump right into it. Honor Fave Johnson, the number one safety in the 2027 class, just received a crystal ball or expert prediction, whatever you want to call it, to ultimately commit to the USC Trojans. Again, received that by Steve Wiltfong of Rivals. And that's a big one. I mean, anytime you can get a guy of that caliber that has that much talent, that is the number one in the class, that's a good start to your 27 class. Now, obviously, the commitment has not happened yet. It's a prediction. Things could still change. Even if he does commit, you have a long way to go until 2027 signing day, or it'll be in 26, but for the 27 class. So nothing's imminent, but hey, that's a good positive sign. Fave Johnson goes to Cathedral Catholic Powerhouse in San Diego, so not LA, but still local, California, just south of us, hour and a half. 6 foot, 180, and USC would beat out the likes of Oregon, UCLA, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, all the big players as usual. You know, in the 25 or 26 cycle, this current cycle, I feel like USC has really had their way with anyone they really wanted, they got. And I think really the one recruit that I was super high on them getting that they ultimately did not. Now, again, I don't know if it was more so USC then moving on or if they just got beat out. But for me, it was Jet Washington. Big Jet Washington guy, big body safety at Bishop Gorman, and he ends up ultimately committing to Oregon. Now, Oregon is very much so in on Fave Johnson, and so if USC can ultimately get his commitment in 27, then that would be a nice recoup, if you will, from missing out on Jet Washington to then get Fave Johnson. So just a super talented kid, obviously local kid. If you can get that, that's always good. He's visited SC 4 times, visited Oregon 4 times, Oklahoma twice. He was just at Notre Dame back in September. So, you know, it's not imminent yet, but certainly trending in the right direction. He spoke with Rivals just recently about his visit. He was at USC for the Michigan game, which is a fantastic game to show off to recruits, obviously. And he told Rivals it was a great experience in the Collie. Love that everyone says the Collie. Love the atmosphere and the tradition that takes place at USC. Great coaching staff, and USC is definitely on the rise. Favorite things about being able to play for USC is bringing the school a national title and having the chance to be the 3rd player from San Diego to bring USC a Heisman and join Reggie Bush and Marcus Allen. Now, that's an interesting end of the quote there that I want to dive into, and this is more speculation. I don't have confirmation. Obviously, as a safety, it's very hard to win the Heisman. I think it should be easier, but when you are a defensive player, you pretty much have to be a two-way player, like we saw Travis Hunter last year with Colorado do and win the Heisman. Or you kind of change positions, and you just don't be a defensive player. And the fact that he mentioned Reggie Bush and Marcus Allen, 2 Heisman Trophy winning running backs, makes me ponder if he actually would play running back at the collegiate level. And so this is something that I'm going to do more digging on in terms of USC. Oklahoma, who was recruiting him, the primary recruiter for Oklahoma was DeMarco Murray, running back coach. So clearly Oklahoma is probably seeing him as a running back. However, he is the number 1 safety. It's not like he's the 25th safety that could go both ways. He's the number 1 safety. body weight is probably more suited at safety. I mean, 6 foot, if he gets up to 205, then, that's a prototypical running back weight if he puts on 25 more pounds. But at 180 right now, even if he gets to 190, it's probably a little better for safety in terms of height, but that can change. He's got a whole year in high school left. But USC, from what I've been told and heard, and our friend Scott Schrader has also reported this, is that they are really just pursuing 2 safeties in the 27 class because of how massive the defensive back room is in this 26 class. They're basically having spots for 2 safeties, 2 corners, 4 defensive backs. As I say, they always recruit defensive backs. And based on what I've heard, and again, what Scott has also echoed over on On3, is Fave Johnson is one of those safeties they deem as filling one of those 2 spots. So that tells me that USC is pursuing him as a safety, which I think they should, considering he's the number 1 safety in the class in the state of California, a top 25 total player. But just him saying that kind of makes it interesting. And I think what could potentially happen is this could be a kid that, hey, is your starting safety, but then gets 8 to 12 carries a game on offense, maybe to switch things up. And again, this is pure speculation. So we'll talk to coaches later. This is obviously a long cycle, but could potentially be that kind of change of pace guy that has some good breakaway speed. And you figure you'll have Deshaun Rideau, Sean Alston, who will be at that time when he gets here, sophomores. He could be a true freshman to kind of be that change of pace guy, which then ups his Heisman chances. So who knows? I mean, he could be just purely for safety, but it was interesting to hear him specifically say when a Heisman and the 2 name, obviously the Trojans don't have there's not a lot of, there isn't like Heisman winning safeties out there. And Marcus Allen and Reggie Bush are 2 running back, but it's just interesting. Like he didn't just say like Caleb Williams, Carson Palmer, Reggie Bush. Like he specifically mentioned 2 running backs. So something to think about. But based on what, we've heard, he is getting recruited as a safety. And so this now pertains a little bit to, if you could call it the fallout, I guess, but a little bit of the change in recruitment, I guess, for Khalil Terry, who was someone that USC was heavily going after. And as of yesterday, received an expert prediction to commit to Notre Dame. And so, the thought at first was like, okay, maybe they just lost a little ground. Terry visited Notre Dame just this past weekend for a big win over Navy and, great atmosphere. So is this more of a, in the moment type of thought that he's trending that way? Could USC get back in the mix? And based on Scott Schrader's latest reporting, the 2 safeties of the 2, remember I said they have 2 spots open that they are pursuing heavily, are Honor Fave Johnson and Gavin Williams out of Laverne, California. Gavin Williams is the 13th ranked safety in the entire class, 6'1", 170, great size again, and competing with UCLA, Arizona, A&M, Ohio State, still a lot of great schools they're competing with. But it seems like SC has more turned their sights on Gavin Williams and away from Khalil Terry. They can't take as many players in this cycle, so got to pick and choose. So things can change again. Like, for instance, if Khalil Terry ends up committing to Notre Dame, and let's say Gavin Williams ends up committing to, I don't know, Ohio State. Don't want to put that on the universe, but let's say he does. Well, then maybe USC goes back all in on Terry and are able to flip him. So the story's not done on that. But as of right now, the 2 safeties they're going after are Fave Johnson and Gavin Williams. As far as the cornerback position, those 2 spots, I think Duve Williams obviously is the shoo-in. I would expect a commitment coming from him at some point, whether he continues to wait or does it this month. But I think that's the shoo-in. And then you're looking at, a bevy of different options, some being Aaron Washington and Danny Lang, both the 2 top corners at Mater Dei. There's plenty other out there in just the Southland when you look at Long Beach Poly, who they've gone after potentially, and others. So I've done a video on kind of cornerback prospects recently that you can check out on that, but we'll continue to monitor that. But I think right now your kind of leaders in that clubhouse would be the 2 safeties I just mentioned, and then Aaron Washington or Danny Lang, and then Duve Williams is the obvious one. So that's your 4 DBs, really. That's what it comes down to, and the room they have for this 27 class. Last little tidbit, Terry was actually ready to commit, from what I've heard, back in the spring. And USC kind of, not necessarily cooled on him, but basically said, hey, hold on, wait, because basically they had to figure out how many roster spots they could allocate to this 27 class, because they were still going after, guys in the 26 class. How many would they end up taking? Will they still take another one? We knew just 2 weeks ago they took the JUCO kid, and they flipped Crowder from Cal. So they took 2 more just in this class as recent as 2 weeks ago. So they were kind of pumping the brakes on that to see what availability they have. And, now we know 4. So I think that's where Terry's momentum with SC shifted, because it was more of a, hey, we don't have as many spots. We've got to be real picky with who we take. So again, that can change, but that's the latest as of right now. So big day. Nothing's imminent yet. I mean, I think Duve Williams got crystal balled like 7 months ago, and he hasn't officially committed yet. I believe that will happen. So we'll see how long this process is for Fave Johnson, but could be this month. It could be after signing day in December. It could be in the spring. We will see, but things certainly trending in the right direction for the nation's top safety to end up at USC. I'll be at practice in just a couple hours talking to Lincoln Riley, talking to offensive players. So I will have a recap up right after practice of kind of sights and sounds and quick analysis. So make sure to be ready for that. Probably practice a little earlier today. So probably around, 5 o'clock or so that'll come out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you always are up to date with everything we're doing here. Head over to LAFBnetwork.com. Check out our USC Trojans message board. Lots of good conversation there. We'd love to start communicating with you guys there. And make sure to join our community. You can become a community member at LAFBnetwork.com or right here on the USC LAFB YouTube channel. Thank you, family. And as always, fight on. Hey, Trojan family. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers. They've got live stat updates. They've got a chat that you can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose Jade Mayav in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USCLAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in $10, they'll match you that $10. So now you're sitting at $20 to play with. But also right now, for any new users, no deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free. Go make a deposit. Use USC LAFB. And now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family. And when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.